So action?
Action.
All right. This right here is the first Jocko podcast. Here we go. I guess to start off, how did we end up here? How did this happen? I guess I have to thank Tim Ferriss for initially having me on to his podcast. And that was via a couple people that helped me out get on there. Kirk Parsley, Peter Attia, and they made some introductions and introduced me to Tim Ferriss. Tim had me on. Got a lot of good feedback on that show. And that led to me going on to Joe Rogan. So thanks to Joe Rogan for having me on as well. And once those two things happened and I actually got online and started communicating with other human beings online, and they were asking, you should do a podcast because it was interesting. And both Joe and Tim told me to have a podcast because it was interesting. So as I got all that feedback, which was awesome, I kind of realized I should do a podcast. So I'm sitting here. My name is Jocko Willink. I was, if you don't know anything about me, I served 20 years in the military, retired in 2010. Myself and one of my buddies, a guy by the name of Leif Babin, we started a company where we do leadership and management consulting for businesses. Doing all that work eventually got us to a situation where we had some knowledge and kind of aggregated some knowledge, and so we put that into a book. The book came out and been doing pretty well. It's called Extreme Ownership. So that's who I am. Now, I kind of sometimes find it a little strange just to be talking. And so as we decided to put this podcast together, at one point I had done some follow-up videos for Tim Ferriss for him to put online. And I did those with a buddy of mine who's sitting here with me now, a guy by the name of Echo Charles, who is a longtime jiu-jitsu training partner of mine. And he does video production. He's got a company called FlixPoint TV, and whenever I got to do something video related, he's my go-to guy. And so when this opportunity came about, when we were filming the videos for Tim Ferriss, we had questions from the internet, and we were sitting there and he's filming, and we were basically doing a podcast because we were talking and we were having conversations about leadership and about jiu-jitsu and about problems and about everything. And that kind of rolled into when we started talking about doing a podcast. And I said, hey, do you have audio equipment? Do you have a recorder? Do you have time to sit down and hang out with me and do this? And
I do.
He said, I do.
I do have all that stuff.
And here we are. So then what we did was we took a bunch of questions that I got from online. People hit me with all kinds of different questions, which is awesome. Thanks to everybody for giving me that feedback and listening and talking and communicating with me. That's awesome. It's kind of weird because I've never been like the most social person in the world. And not that I feel like lonely, because I never do. I don't care if I'm alone or not. It's no big
social,
deal to me.
You mean like online social?
Well, definitely
or
not.
Just social
Definitely not online social. I mean, I had zero online presence prior to being on the Tim Ferriss podcast, and but even socially, I mean, I don't like hang around with people. You know that. I mean, I told you that like the last time I was over here. I said, right. Yeah, I just don't do that a lot. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to me being online and communicating with really thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I'm not used to having people that are kind of interested in the same thing I'm interested in, you know, the jiu-jitsu, the working out, the want to do better, the want to get better, the want to learn more. That's what I want to do. And it's cool to be able to communicate with a bunch of people that want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's what this podcast, which I know is going to evolve into all kinds of different things. But I think the underlying theme will be lessons learned. You know, lessons learned. I want to learn from people. I want to pass on what I've learned. I don't want people to make the same mistakes I made. I want to learn other mistakes that people have made so I don't make them. And I think that's going to kind of be the underlying theme here with this.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, is there anything in your background that you would consider to be important for people to know?
Above and beyond what you just said, no. I think those are the relevant points for sure.
That's as we talked about doing this, that's one of the things that struck me as you're a director, you know, for your business.
Right.
You're a film director and you don't get in front of the camera. That's not your thing.
Right.
And so that's why I think this interaction is good, because you draw things out of people. That's what a director does.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what you're going to be doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when I did a lot of the Metamorph stuff. That was essentially that was like maybe a third of the whole job, is to get stuff out of.
So the jiu-jitsu players out there, if you followed Metamorph at all, the videos, the what are they called? Lead up videos?
Yeah, like promo.
The promo videos
for the matches. Yeah.
Those were
countdowns.
The
if you will.
countdowns. That's
Sure.
right. Those were Echo Charles material right there.
Yeah.
So you'd occasionally hear his voice in the background with a question.
Yeah.
So speaking of questions,
Yeah.
we got some questions from the